Well, howdy. It's TWP episode 14. We have a lot to unpack for you guys. This is a big week. The college football playoff games were announced and the bowl games. The Browns had another loss, and the Cavs had an interesting week. So let's jump right into it. Zach, you ready?
Oh yeah.
All right. So the Browns fall short in LA. Their trip out west, they fell 0-2 in that time. And I think the biggest storyline in this game is that Joe Flacco got the start and looked good. And not only good,
Yeah.
he looked about as good as you could have imagined.
Absolutely. Until the last interception, which we'll go further into. But Tom, this kind of just felt like a clash of two polar opposites. The LA team, great team that just got healthy. They have Puka, who's setting rookie receiver records, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, healthy Matthew Stafford. Feels like they're the healthiest they've been, and we were the most hurt we've ever been. And that clash you saw really kind of at the end.
Yeah, I mean the problems that you saw in Denver continued here. And yeah, we're a very injured team right now. We are crawling to the finish line, but we're still 7-5. So we bought ourselves a little wiggle room so that we could go out west and lose to some teams that are playing hot right now. So yeah, we lost. But I think what we did learn is that this week Joe Flacco has proven that he should finish the rest of the season.
Yeah.
He's Go ahead.
No, I agree. He looks good. He's not officially, like, as of today. It's Tuesday, December 5th that we're recording the pod. He's not officially named the starter, but Tom, is it his job to lose? And if you saw DTR, does that give you playoff hopes?
No. And that's not a knock on DTR. It's just he's a rookie and his game against Denver was okay. Similarly, this week and the week prior, I felt like our team was gearing toward a comeback, and then it fell short. With DTR at QB, he got hit in the head and was taken out of the game. With Joe Flacco, he threw a pick with some time left, and our defense couldn't hold it down. But yeah, Joe Flacco looked better than DTR did. Honestly, this might have been, I think it's debatable whether or not this was like the best QB performance we've seen all season, other than maybe the second half of that Baltimore game for Deshaun. I mean, Joe looked good. He's a big dude. He's 6'6". He's got some zip on the ball. And he's clearly 38 because he doesn't look concerned about throwing a pick or throwing into double, triple coverage because he can throw that thing.
Yeah, I mean, the interception, right, is the biggest concern. It's not that wild to me when you think about this guy hasn't played in a while. He's going to test his limits, right? To your point, Flacco has attempted 19 passes over 10 air yards. Guys, that's most in a game by a Browns QB in 5 years. So that's good enough for me, Tom. What about you?
Yeah, that's good. That's also just concerning because that basically says that Kevin hasn't really trusted any quarterback he's had the whole time he's been here. So that's Kevin's whole tenure and then 1 year of Hugh or Freddie. Sorry, that's Freddie. And Freddie let people do whatever they wanted. But anyway, not to get sidetracked. Joe Flacco, if he's healthy, which I think that might be the only thing they're holding on to name him the starter. If he's healthy, I think let's just ride him to the end of the season and hopefully our defense can get healthier because I think if he can play game manager ball, maybe have one really great throw here or there, our defense can win us games, but as long as they're healthy, which leads us to the next point. We're talking about Myles Garrett. Last 2 games has looked pedestrian. This past game, he had nothing on the stat sheet for the first time in his entire career. So no tackles, no sacks, no pressures, nothing. And that is because he was hurt. But, is he coming back? And also, on top of it, we really are missing Denzel Ward. We said it last week. We're going to say it again. I'm drinking a cup of water with Denzel's face on it just for good juju. I want this guy back. Because, there were times in this game when Mike Ford got the start, and he is a career special teamer. And then we had a safety. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I don't know who this guy is. I didn't even know he was on our active roster. and he's the guy who gave up the 70-yard touchdown to Puka. He was involved in a few other big plays that we gave up. But you can't expect special teamers and no-namers and randos to come in and continue to play at a historic pace, which is where this defense was. But, the rumors are that Denzel could come back this week. And do you think Denzel coming back brings this defensive line and the pressure that we've been able to generate back to normal? Because we almost had no pressure on Matt Stafford this week. No sacks, like just a handful of QB pressures.
Yeah, I think it's half the battle. The other half is if Miles' injury is as bad as people were saying, and he's going to be at 50%. I don't think it does matter. I do value Denzel Ward as a player, but I think it's the Jim Schwartz defense is the playing off each other. It's the D-line playing in tandem with, the secondary. It's not, is the secondary amazing? Doesn't matter how the D-line is. Both of these need to be hitting on a rhythm. And I just am really curious if Miles is just going to play at 50%. A lot of people are saying, our team's figuring out our defense. Is this just like a natural regression? And I would push back on that. It's a 50% Miles, as we said. It's a no Denzel. These are two all-pro players. And in the last 3 games, we're averaging 14.7 points, 26th place in the NFL. Just seems unsustainable to ask this defense to play historic every single week. Maybe out of a 17-game season, 10, 11, 12 of those games, yeah, we can ask that. But after that, I don't think it's sustainable, Tom.
I mean, if they could somehow stay healthy, yes, it's sustainable. But they're playing hard. They're playing hard defense, and our offense is not buying them time to rest in between sets. I mean, like we came back and it was 19-20, and the very next play, it was the first play, is when Flacco threw that pick. And I think the defense, like, if they would have had a few more minutes to like talk to their coaches, drink some water, take a deep breath, like, we could have stayed in that game. But they went right back out there almost instantly, and it just kind of felt like, oh, this one's over. I do feel like health is far and away the only concern with this defense. I don't think anybody's figuring us out, and I don't think Miles is actually slowing down. I think he's hurt, and that's all.
Yeah, which is not great for a guy that we were touting as a defensive player of the year. Miles probably dealing with a season injury that he'll deal with this season. And on the other side of the next week's matchup, guys, we have the Jags. The Jags are reportedly not playing with Trevor Lawrence. He suffered an injury against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, Tom, a healthy Ward, a Trevor Lawrence injury. We're at home, in which we're 5-1. Do we feel good about this matchup?
I don't want to say that like I'm ever happy about somebody getting injured, but I will say, like, injuries are a big part of the game, especially this year when more quarterbacks have been hurt than any other season ever. And it's just nice that other people are also dealing with it, because I feel like we've been the most injured team in football. And the Jaguars just lost to the Bengals, who we whooped. Football's all about matchups, so I don't know if we match up as well against this team as we do the Bengals, for example. But I think we're going to take it to the Jaguars at home. If they're missing Trevor Lawrence and they're also missing Christian Kirk, who isn't their best wide receiver, but he's been Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. And if we get Denzel Ward back, I think he can single-handedly lock down Calvin Ridley. And then it's pretty even, I think, after that. I think both teams have a good chance to win this game, but the fact that we're at home, the fact that they're a Florida team and they're going to be playing in the Cleveland cold, there's a lot of things going for us this game. I really think that if Joe Flacco plays and he has another week under his belt and he gets to play in front of that Cleveland crowd rooting for him, there's no reason we can't win this game. And we'd be 8-5, which would be huge. And we'd be in playoff contention, where right now 4 of the 7 teams that are in the playoffs for the AFC are starting a backup quarterback. And many of the other teams that aren't in the playoffs are starting a backup quarterback, like the Bengals, for example. Like, there's just a lot of quarterbacks who've been hurt this year. So there's no point in giving up on this season just because we lost 2 games in a row. If we can beat this team that was just vying for the number 1 seed in the conference, I mean, I think we go right back to feeling like we can beat anybody, especially on our home turf. And I think the playoffs are still very realistic.
It's a great point that you bring off about the playoffs being realistic. I still want to respect the Jags. ETN is amazing. Evan Ingram's amazing. Like, it's not going to be an easy matchup, but guys, if we come out of this with a win, we're 8-5, right? We said we ideally want 10 wins to make the playoffs. If we're 8-5, we beat the Jags. Our next 5 opponents are 4 opponents: Bears, Texans, Jets, and the Bengals. Does that make you even more hopeful? I mean, this has been such an odd season where we're on our 4th starting quarterback, but when you put it in that perspective, it just gets you riled up, Tom.
Oh, absolutely. And also, like, it feels like we're pulling out Joe Flacco as the secret weapon, like a load management player in the NBA. Like, he's going to come out, he's going to play hot, he's going to lead us into the playoffs, and if he's got the hot hand, let's ride the hot hand. I mean, why not? And I feel like this team has shown a lot of resilience this year, especially when they come back home. They really play their butts off. So I'm expecting this to be a good game, and we're going to learn a lot about the players that are healthy, and we're going to learn a lot about the players that aren't. And yeah, I think we can take out the Jags.